Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our third group webinar. Thank you for waiting. I was having a little technical difficulties, and my 4-year-old son came in the room with a pack of M&Ms. You would think he was an astronaut stranded on another planet trying to get it open. Mommy, get it open for me. So some mommy emergency stuff going on. So thank you for tuning in tonight, and welcome to everyone again. And I'm so excited for tonight's webinar. It's a little different tonight. It's a great different. We are going to get into Google resources with NIKKI HEIMAN. She is our co-host tonight. So at this time, if you do not have something to write with and something to take notes on, I'm going to be taking notes tonight myself. Go ahead, run real quick and get something, because I'm going to turn it over. And so you have about a minute. Nikki's going to get her presentation up on the screen. She's going to introduce herself, and let's get started. Okay, so Nikki, so give me a second. I'm going to change presenter, and I'm going to turn it over to you, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I think it's all set up. Okay, well, I'm NIKKI HEIMAN. I'm so excited to be here, everybody, to share this information with you. When Danielle posted that she was looking for people who might be interested in presenting, I jumped at the chance because I love to share this information with other teachers. I present online and on site. I travel to schools to present on technology integration, and that has been really informative, and it has really helped me as a teacher make my classroom more efficient. And every time I present, I learn something from the people that are in the sessions. So I would love to have your feedback when we're finished. Let me know what you think, if you have questions, things like that. And I know Danielle has, she's taking notes to answer questions or at the end. So if you have a question, write it down, and I will try to answer it at the end of the presentation. So now I'm going to switch over to show my screen, and we will get to the presentation part. Okay, can everybody see my screen? I hope so. Okay, a little bit more background about me. I am a K-12 adaptive special education teacher. I have experience teaching kindergarten through high school. The last several years I've had high school, and this year I went back down to kindergarten through 6th grade, which has been a little bit of a switch, but I really like it. And I don't know what got into me, but something made me decide to go back and get my administrative license. So I'm working on my building principal administrative certificate right now. My specialty happens to be in behavior and inclusion, and technology integration kind of goes along with that. And I'll get into why why they all tie together as we go through this a little bit more. But I also have 3 kids. My oldest one has Down syndrome. He is 13. I'm not old enough to have a teenager, so I don't know. I don't know how that happened. He keeps getting older, and I'm not. But anyway, that is sort of my passion of why I care so deeply about sharing these tech materials with other teachers. So by the end of the webinar, my goal is that for you to understand the paradigm shift behind embracing technology and how to truly create instructional materials that redefine not only teaching, but particularly learning. And what I've learned through consulting is that absolutely everyone is at a different place. I have consulted on technology in district-wide training sessions where I walk in and people don't know how to log into a Google account, and sitting next to them is a person who's like, I want to do virtual reality. And so my goal is to kind of differentiate professional development. That's what we expect. That's what we're expected to do as teachers in our classrooms. And so that's what I'm trying to do through consulting. But it's a process for all of us. As long as we have that growth mindset and we're willing to learn and take the next steps forward to teach ourselves, but also to help everyone else through it too, because it is a process for everybody that we're all going through, because technology changes so quickly. Every single day there's something new that comes out. So we kind of have to help each other along as we go through it. And how quickly we move through the steps is also different for everybody. And when Danielle and I visited, we talked about how, as Google pioneers, part of our responsibility is to help nurture others into embracing technology, because it really is the future of education. And so this slide, no digital worksheets. So you know how worksheet is kind of a dirty word for teachers. We don't want to use that word. We sometimes switch to printables, and that can be kind of tricky. So I've had so many teachers tell me that, oh, all I have to do is put a picture of a worksheet on the iPad, and the students are so much more engaged. The problem is that the kids that we're teaching today are so accustomed to games on the iPads and having that flexibility to interact freely with lots of multimedia on the iPad, that it's going to take them about 2 pages, maybe even less than that, to figure out this is a worksheet on the iPad, and suddenly they don't care. So what I want to talk about is how we can change our mindset from, oh, I'm integrating technology because this is an activity on the iPad, to truly redefining the instruction model using technology. So the model that I use to kind of set my mindset around what the lesson is that I'm doing is called the SAMR model. And the S is for substitution, A is for augmentation, M is for modification, and R stands for redefinition. And I'm going to go through how much or what each of those really means. The S is basically, that's the digital worksheet, and that's okay. There is actually nothing wrong with that. I was a little bit joking with the don't do it ever seriously, because there is a time and a place for it. What I'm wanting to get at, though, is that that shouldn't be our end goal with technology integration, because there's no functional change in how the instruction is delivered. And with the substitution level, it's still very teacher-centered. And our goal needs to make technology to be student-centered. And so that's what we're going to get to in the other steps. Augmentation, it still isn't quite there yet. This is where you become more efficient in your technology tools, where maybe you're using Google Forms to give assessments and you have it programmed so that the student has their grade immediately. So it changes slightly, because the student now gets quick feedback. And, as we know, students today who are so used to having that constant feedback from games. And I know my own kids, they'll play a game and then they have to come and show me, Mom, look, I got a high score. Mom, look, I got a high score. And that's great, but they're used to that instant feedback constantly. So augmentation is great. Oh, there's a little bit of a sound echo issue. Let me know if this is any better. So I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought a little bit here. Okay, so Google Forms has that immediate feedback, and they don't have to wait for teacher responses like they did when they turned assignments in, and then had to wait for you to grade it and give it back. Plus, you can set it up to grade it automatically, and that saves you a ton of time, which is totally worth everything, right? When you don't have to grade papers and it's done for you. we can talk about what that looks like too. Modification, and this is where it starts to get really cool. So this is where technology is now changing in functionality. Students are doing things with technology that wouldn't have otherwise been possible. And some of the characteristics of that is that now they have an authentic audience, and universal design for learning becomes more possible. And what I really want to emphasize here is the importance of universal design for learning. I don't know how many of you have been following the United States Supreme Court case right now with Andrew versus U.S. Supreme Court. It is a case about a young man with autism in Colorado who had an IEP and was only making very small gains in his academic IEP goals. And so his parents then pulled him from the public school and placed him in private school that cost, I think the number was $70,000 a year. And so the parents then sued the public school, saying that the free and appropriate public education was not being met because he wasn't making goals, and that FAPE qualified him for significant progress. Well, this is now at the Supreme Court. They're expected to have a ruling this summer, and it is looking good for people who have disabilities, and the universal design for learning, and that the requirements for IEPs and progress for people with disabilities is going to have to be significant and measurable, not just minimal. So what we know about teaching kids with disabilities is that inclusion works. Inclusion is a great way to go. However, it can be really hard to facilitate inclusion without universal design for learning. And so when we are getting into the SAMR model, into the modification and the redefinition sections of the SAMR model, universal design for learning is just a part of what the instruction and assessment looks like. So, and I will get more into that in just a little bit. The last one is redefinition, and this is when it is totally student-centered learning, that students are now creating projects that not only would have been impractical, but also completely not feasible without the technology. And at this point, universal design for learning becomes natural. And the biggest part of this is the student-centered learning. So if the learning is all centered around each individual student, then that is the universal design for learning. So this is a paradigm shift for teachers, and it is hard to kind of process the logistics of what all that looks like. So when the student has student-centered learning and it is about their interests and what they're motivated to do, that's when we also get into these big things that are huge in education, like grit, perseverance, ownership of their work. And I got busy talking and left my notes here. Okay. So I do want to go back really quick to this slide. I forgot to talk about this one thing. I had a meeting with an administrator just last week. We were talking about universal design for learning, and her question to me was, what is a better term for making accommodations and modifications naturally in the classroom? Should it be called differentiation, or should it be called universal design for learning? And I thought that was a really interesting question because the language around it has a lot to do with how people accept either term. And in my opinion, differentiation, the root word is different. And in universal design for learning, to me, that term is more all-encompassing for all students. And I'm not just talking about students with disabilities. I'm talking about students who are on the gifted range as well. So I'm going to show you a little bit more about what each of those things could look like in action. Google Slides, of course, there's a lot about this in the toolkit from Danielle, but there are a lot of ways that students can collaborate. Students can create presentations, And I love it for technical writing for students. So they can embed video and they can create their own tutorials on whatever they happen to be interested in. It could be how to change the oil of your car or how to groom your cat, I guess. That would probably be a funny video. So any slide presentation can be recorded with Screencastify or VoiceOver, and I'll go over a couple other slides too, or a couple other tools that you could use as well. Okay, Google Docs. Now let's take a tour of some of these. I use this a lot to collaborate with parents. So if I have a student that has some significant behavioral challenges, for example, I share a Google Doc with their parents, and then we just daily communicate on it, and then everybody on the team has access to it. So Danielle also has things about the add-ons in the toolkit, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here, but in order to get add-ons, you go to add-ons and get add-ons. And these are extra tools that you can use inside Google Docs to help students. And EasyBib is a good one. Kids have a hard time doing bibliographies the correct way. And math, when I present at conferences, there's a common concern that how am I supposed to grade equations? Well, there are math add-ons that can help students to make the mathematical equations. I'm not really a math person, so you'd kind of have to play around with that. Okay, how do I exit here? Okay. You can sort by education or business tools, but I would actually not sort by that, especially if you are talking about the high school level, because they need to know what they can use after high school. To me, if we are teaching 21st century learning skills, the students should be practicing today with the tools that they will need after they leave school. So I wouldn't necessarily sort by that. All right, so I'm going to X out of there, but I want to show you a couple of them. EasyBib is a good one. Speech recognition is a good one. Speech to text. So this is great for students with dyslexia who struggle to spell things correctly. Uber conference sidebar. If you have a flipped classroom, what you can do is, and there's no way that it'll load with my internet speed while I'm broadcasting, but you can click that and you can actually have a video conference off to the side of your screen. So students can collaborate that way, which is really cool. Google Forms is another one that is really cool. Inside Google Forms, you can do self-grading. You can use add-ons to grade papers. You can embed video. You can embed pictures into the questions. I love the video part, especially for elementary math and for special education, because so many students, like, the concept is math, but if they can't read the text, then you have to have a read aloud. Well, if you have a video of, say, a brownie cut into 4 parts and you eat one part of the brownie or move the brownie off to the side, there's a meaningful video of what it looks like to subtract 1/4 away from a whole. So I think that would be a fantastic way to assess students, is to embed video. Chrome extensions, this is really cool too, and I know that there's stuff about it in the toolkit, but just to go over it briefly, you can go to the Chrome Web Store, and there are various tools that you can use here to, I use Screencastify quite a bit, but there are various tools that you can go to here that can help students, and accessibility is a big one. This is the universal design for learning. There are a lot of extensions that will read text aloud to you, which is very, very valuable. especially since that is one of the most common um, accommodations on standardized assessments is the read aloud. So if we teach students how to use that independently and they're using that on all of their daily work, they are using that on the assessments that you give them, because if it's built into your Chrome browser, I mean, it's right there. Um, when I had high school, I always talked to them a lot about self-advocacy. So, I would tell them, reading is hard for you, but that's okay. That doesn't define you as a person. Let's just talk about what tools we need for you to be successful after you leave high school. And that's where I would teach them how to add extensions onto their browser, so when they go to college and they have a digital textbook, it can read it to them and overcome their disability and have access to the general ed curriculum then. Okay, so I have to emphasize that as teacher authors, we are leading the way on technology. I love everything that Danielle has done for helping us to learn how to create teaching resources and how to use the tools that are easily available to all of us. And I think there are so many options for people that it can seem overwhelming if we don't have that network of people to help us along. So I think if we as teacher leaders and teacher authors, if we can make choosing the most dynamic and engaging technology more accessible for teachers, we are also making the most dynamic and engaging lessons accessible for students, which is why we're really all here doing what we're doing, right? Okay, so I want to take you on a little bit of a tour of a novel study that I did utilizing some of these. And there was a question earlier about reading in the margins. So I will answer that question here. So inside this is part of the teaching tools here. These are placeholder slides right here. And in here, I embedded a video, and I don't know if it'll play with my internet speed, but I will go to View Present. And this is a tool that I would have shared with the students so they can share it with their parents. So when they're working on this activity at home, the parents can see exactly how I taught it in school so that they can help their student come up with the right answer. And I'm by no means going to play the whole video. I just wanted to show you that it's easy to embed the video, and it's probably not going to play. Okay, so this is how we did close reading in here. So I just left extra space off to the side for students to take notes in the margins to do the close reading strategy. And this is a collaboration piece. So this was shared with different students, and each student had their own character analysis that they wrote here. And we kind of did a think, pair, share, where then they would talk about it. So we did that for each of the characters. This is a quiz that's built in for them to practice. And vocabulary quiz built in right here. So this is clickable, and it takes them to a Google Forms of the vocabulary that we talked about up here. And the comprehension cards. So I loved this because this was where the students can really do a think, pair, share. And this is where we can use the universal design for learning, and the students can they can collaborate talking to each other, and they can also collaborate using the digital tools, which I think is really cool. And they knew when we started that they were going to be assessed using the 21st century learning skills, because part of this was I wanted them to learn about leadership and collaboration. So I'm going to show you quick what that looked like. maybe it'll be quick. Maybe my computer will just think. Um, what I did was I went through the 21st century learning skills, which, yeah, it's not going to load. They were about leadership, responsibility, and teamwork, and taking ownership of projects. And so after we did the Think, Pair, Share, we talked about, how much did you participate with the group? And that's kind of how we took it to the next level. Um, And thinking back, there are a lot of things that I would do different now. So, in order to take that to the next level to redefine instruction, what I might do would be have the students create um, a Powtoons of their character analysis or something like that. Powtoons is a free website that you can use, and students can create their own animated activities in there. So, or their own animated show, which is really cool, and it's super engaging. The kids love it, but that can be a way for them to create their own project, and then we could share it on the school website or the school social media account or something like that to give them an authentic audience. Oh, here we go. What are the 21st century learning skills? So this is what I used. And this is also important because this is what business leaders have said that they want in an employee. And what I think is really neat when we think about the SAMR model and we think about changing our instruction to where it's student-centered and the students have grit and perseverance and they have ownership of their activities and their learning, then by default, they're also, working in groups to create a lot of these projects. And by practicing working in groups, they learn how to self-regulate and how to reflect. And it's all done at each student's level. So my 7th grade son who has Down syndrome, to use him as an example, he does various things using technology in his class. So he's in the regular education classroom for some pretty difficult concepts. He's in there for science and social studies. And in science, if they're talking about cell structure, that could be a really tricky thing for him to understand. Well, what he can do then is to create a pic collage and label the parts of a cell on the pic collage and do an oral report rather than having to take a full-fledged assessment over the parts of a cell. So that way he is getting something very meaningful out of the class, even though he is a 7th grader who is reading probably at a 2nd grade level. It is not prohibitive of him to access the general education curriculum because he uses these technology tools so that he can be a part of the class. So, oh, there was one other question I was going to answer as far as I wanted to show you add-ons. So I use Cami. I'm kind of changing topics here just a little bit. I'm sorry about that. So what Cami does is any PDF that you open, so this is a great tool for accessibility. Any PDF that you open, it can be a digital text or anything. Here, this is a Reading A to Z book I just printed today. You can underline text. You can write over things. Start typing in it. You can draw a picture, whatever. That's a good add-on to answer a question that was in the group. So I know that I talked really fast. I do want to share with you that there is a full course where I go into a lot of these other tools, and I think I talked fast enough that I do have enough time to go over a couple of them. And since I mentioned Powtoons, I will show you Powtoons really quick. This is a great way for students to create products. And if we are talking about getting students authentically engaged, having them create their own animated story is really cool. I'll show you one that we did in my classroom, and this was for a social group. How to make your teacher proud. And just for reference, this is a second grader on the autism spectrum that did this independently. So slow. But anyway, to go back to talking about the course will cover a ton of these tools that you can use.
3 ways to listen to your teacher. 1. Always listen. 2. Be respectful. 3. Make your teacher proud.
Created using Powtoon. That always comes on so loud it makes me jump. Okay. So anyway, to talk about the full course, this is a huge, huge project because, like I had mentioned before, when we put all of these pieces together, that is really complex and it can be completely overwhelming. So what I have done is completely broken it down into little small steps. So what can we do with Google Slides? What can we do with Google Docs and Sheets? And how can we collect data? Because we know that we teach using data-driven instruction. How can we make it accessible for students with disabilities? How can we provide an authentic audience for our students to create projects and products that are super cool? And how can we combine the different forms of apps and online tools so that it means something for the student and it's not overwhelming for the teacher, because I think that's the huge piece, particularly if we are creating teaching resources to share in our buildings, or if we're creating teaching resources to share on Teachers Pay Teachers. Either way, it's overwhelming to look at it. So if we help each other and if we work together to embrace this paradigm shift around town technology, can make a huge difference. And so anyway, that's my purpose behind creating the full e-course. And it is currently half off until I am finished putting content in it, which could be a couple weeks. But anyway, is that is tonight's presentation. I am ready to take questions. Danielle, were there any questions? Okay. I cannot hear you.
There we go. Now I believe I'm muted, correct?
Yes.
Okay, hold on. Hold on 1 second. Okay, and just to let everybody know, my son Cameron is up here in where I do webinars, so you may hear a tiny bit of his iPad. I think, what are you watching tonight, honey? He's watching Rio. I think the second one. I don't know if any Rio fans out there, but it's really cute. Okay. We do have some questions from the audience. 1 second, let me bring them up. And I have a couple things I wrote down too. So Wendy said thank you so much for showing her where to write the notes in the margins. That was really cool. I love seeing that too. That was great. Thanks for showing us Cami for all the highlighting, underlining, and changing the text. Wendy also wanted to add that. Kayla Wolf said our schools is 1-to-1 with iPads. Are
Awesome.
these add-ons available for the iPad?
I have never used Chrome on the iPad. I actually just use Safari or apps on the iPad. So I don't know. I can look for that. But a lot of the add-ons, the companies also make apps that have the same functionality. So whether it's an add-on or whether it's an app, I don't know if it really matters. It's just learning which tools are available for what device, if that makes sense.
Okay. If it's on the iPad, I do believe there is the add-on. What you have to do is you have to go back to the main screen where like let's say you're using Google Slides. So you have your Google Slides main screen where all your files are listed, and I believe up at the top there's a slider. This is what I'm picturing in my head from what I remember. There's a slider where you'll have your add-ons.
Okay.
That's what I believe. But you know what? We do have members in the Google group that are our iPad, they're the soldiers on the ground, and we will ask them to confirm that for us also. Okay, so let me bring up some more questions. Okay, that was a great question. Okay, 1 second. Okay, so okay, this is from Taylor Lang. Built-in quiz questions with the links. Do they go to different slides?
Yes. I hyperlinked to those placeholder slides that I showed. So those were just practice. Like that's just what you would use for instruction. Like I would project that onto a smart board, and the students can select the answers, or you can use it as a teaching tool. But yes, I hyperlinked within the document.
Okay. It's a terrible angle for me tonight. Okay. Oh.
And look, I have a.
Hi.
This
Hi.
is Trent. Came from church.
Yes, it's Ashes. Yes. Hi, honey. How are you?
Okay.
Your mom is famous tonight. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Get ready for bed, right?
Look.
I know, you see. Okay.
Yeah, everybody loves her.
Oh.
Oh, hi.
Oh, and the other helpers. Everybody's coming.
Yep.
Stop, Trin.
Hi, honey.
Who is she?
Who is
That's
she?
Daniel. And there's a lot of other people on
I
there
know.
too.
I'm in New Jersey. You're in Kansas?
Yeah.
Yes. Hi, how are you? Your mom did great tonight.
Okay, you need to go get ready for bed.
Yeah, we need to take showers. I'm done.
Okay. Other questions?
Yes.
Sorry for the distraction here.
No, that's okay. Let's see. Melinda Miller said, did she do the writing in the margins for the activities in the slides? And can you talk about the margins again for a second?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. What I did was I downloaded, or I made the template that had the margins off to the side, and I saved it as a JPEG and used that as my background, and then put text boxes in there. So that's how the student could make notes, and that way it was editable. I think I learned that from
that. Oh yeah, that's cool. But I loved how that looked. By the way, I loved how you had that all set up, the close reading activity and everything. That was really cool.
Thank you.
Let's see. Yes. Okay. So let's see. Okay. So much out there, and the learning curve is just so high. What about vetting of materials, such as Cami versus DocHub? That's from Megan Fraser. That's actually a really good question.
That is an excellent question. And I think a lot of it, and I think that people hate to hear this answer, but it's personal preference. So, you know, if you find one that you're like, you know what, this user interface, this is really great for me. I think if we're teacher leaders, it's good to know about all the different options that are available, But as far as using it in our classroom for our purposes, I think whatever you're most comfortable with is what is the right tool for you to use. Because if it's not user friendly for me, I'm not going to use it, and I'm not going to model using it for my students. So I guess I pick things that I
Right.
feel comfortable using, and I'll push myself, of course, to try to learn it. But if there are two apps that do basically the same thing, and I like the way one looks and feels better, that is how I vet the tools, I guess.
Okay. And do you remember when you and I were talking on Monday when we were going through this? When we want our students to use an app or an add-on, let's use the word add-on. So when we want our students to use a specific add-on like EasyBib, they download that themselves, right? They put that on their own account. Okay. Got
Right,
that.
because it's associated with your drive.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. I do believe it that okay, I think that's in the toolkit. I'm picturing it like for math, for example, like if we're going to use one of the equation editors as a math add-on in your math class, your math students all have to individually put that on. Okay, got that.
Mhm.
All right. Let's see. We have time for a couple more, and then whatever ones we don't get to, we could always put in the Google group, and we could always answer later.
Mhm.
Let's see. Oh, this one's from Aris. Okay. What was the name of the add-on that you were using for reading A to Z?
Oh, that was just Cami.
Okay. Okay. And
Kami.
Kami. Okay. And okay, this will be our last. This is actually no, guys. So this one is actually a few questions. Okay. You mentioned making dynamic and engaging tech available for teachers so they can create lessons that are dynamic and engaging. How do you bring this to the teachers? At PD meetings, one-on-one? I know as a teacher it is hard to find time to learn about new resources and how to use them in order to implement in the lesson. No, nobody wants to see your Deadpool picture. And how do you remove that roadblock? Okay, so that's pretty loaded. So that's basically like you're kicking butt in your classroom, you're doing great things, but maybe somebody down the hall isn't quite there yet because they don't want to be. Or maybe you're going into a district to do PD and they don't have all the technology you have. Like, what do you think, like, what is the major roadblock right now?
Deadpool? It's good.
Here's Christopher's Deadpool picture. Okay, thank you.
Great
Thank
job.
you. Yes, yay.
What
Okay,
did she say?
great job. Okay, because I have my earbuds in, they can't hear you. Go ahead.
That is a totally loaded question, and I think there are several different answers for that question. So first of all, I think part of it is a mindset issue because sometimes that roadblock is just, somebody thinking, it's so hard I can't do it. I'm done. It's more than I can handle processing right now. And like that person, that's okay. Like if I was teaching next to that person, it depends on how receptive they are to suggestions, but my first thing would be, okay, well, let's try a tool that will save you time, like Google Forms. That is usually the first thing. You know, since this is a paradigm shift, start with that substitution and show people how much easier it is for you once you have it set up. And then once people have a little bit of success with something small, they might be willing to try something that is a little bit harder. Um, and as far as the tools, that can be really tricky. And I don't know what to say about that. I'm actually in a Chromebook district and I'm a Mac girl all the way. So it is hard for me. I bring my own personal MacBook to work because I don't want to look at the PC.
Okay, I'm the opposite. All right. I'm all about like Microsoft and PC and okay. Uh, hold on one
So
second. Can you
that's
turn that down, please? Okay.
that's just a personal preference, I think.
Okay.
Um,
Erin Flanagan and I were actually talking about this yesterday that Um, when we use technology with our own students, we love seeing their reaction. And then the kids will come up to you and they'll say, can you ask so-and-so to do these kind of activities, like their other teachers? And I'm like, okay, I'll mention it to her, because sometimes other people in the building, they don't want to hear all the cool things you're doing, that they
Right.
should be doing it. That's, and I also find too, like, when an administration wants to make you like a model classroom because you are doing such cool things,
Hmm.
and they want to invite other staff members to come in to see what you're doing, that could also be a lot of pressure. Um, there could be some envy from other people there, but I think, yeah, that is a roadblock. But, I think the roadblock, there's age. I think that could be a roadblock. I hate to say that, but I do think that I'm in my 40s, and many people my age have been teaching, they could be teaching 20 years at this point, and they don't want to change. Uh, or people have bad professional development, and they're like thrown into it, right?
Right.
And they don't know, they don't have the support, they don't know what they're doing. But thank you so much. I think we got a lot of great information tonight. Um, I took a lot of notes. I love the collaboration through Google Docs. And I love that you said that you collaborated with parents that way. Does your school collaborate with Google Docs within the staff?
We actually have a Google community that we all share information on, blog posts and stuff like that.
Oh,
So
cool.
that is a great way to share some information. I do want to say, though, when you're talking about like staff envy and stuff like that, um, one thing that over time and being the special ed teacher, I'm the person who always comes, holding a behavior plan. And so there are a lot of times that I'm not necessarily the most popular person because I, have to say, oh, well, we have to try all these positive behavior rewards, and the kids gets to stay in your room um, because that's the best for the kids. And a lot of times it works out that way, and it's okay. But there is, a lot of dealing with some conflicts sometimes that way. But what I've learned is just to change my own mindset. I'm here to do the best I can for my students, and if somebody else isn't accepting of that, then that's not really my issue.
No, it's
So
not.
just be proud of what you're doing
I was
and
just
where
going to say,
you're
I'm
at,
proud of that
and
statement. That's a great statement.
yeah.
You're not there for them, you're there. That's so true. I love that. Well, thank you so much. And in the Google group, will you post, if we'll do a thread for like questions follow up, right? And we'll talk in
Mhm.
there. And can you definitely put a link in there for the course?
Yes, and the
Okay.
one piece I didn't add about the course is that there is an affiliate link. So if you take it and you love it, you can share it and you can earn affiliate income from it. So
Yeah, and
one
it's something that we could work on over time, like if somebody wants to, right? Doesn't have to be done
it's
like,
totally self-paced. Yep.
okay. So it's their videos and that they're pre-recorded already, or will they any of them be live?
They're pre-recorded.
Oh, that's awesome. So you could do it at your own pace. I love that. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And to everybody tuning in tonight, thank you. And we will have this, this is all recorded tonight, and the replay will be available as soon as GoToWebinar allows me to post it. Thank you to everyone so much. Next month, we're going to do another topic similar to this one. I would like to keep going with Google Education for our teacher authors in our group. I think that's great. Nikki, I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
I loved
much.
everything you had to share with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.